Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Welcome back to FL Studio Week, aka Fleek. Now this is the melody portion of the series. So in this video, we're going to show you how to create melody for the trap beat that we've been creating in these past videos. So what we're going to do is play back the song really quickly to give you a quick reference of what we did in our past videos. And then we're going to go on to create a melody. And I'm going to show you how to create it via a synth called GMS inside of FL Studio. Okay, so there are differences in melody, and we go over that in Melody Magic at BusyWorksBeats.com. But essentially, you have the musical melody and you have a top line melody. What we're going to work on now is the musical melody, the melody embedded inside of the music. So it can be more synthy and it can be more dramatic. So what we're going to do is open up the channel rack. We're going to pull up the plus sign and we're going to pull up GMS. So this is our kind of like a silent alternative. Quick shape kind of synth inside of FL Studio. What we're going to do is click on Banks, go to User, and we're going to click on Default to reset the plugin. Okay, from here, all I'm going to do is click on the wrench and go to Mono, Portamento, activate those two, and then increase the slide just a little bit. What this does is it allows me to then play notes back to back, and they slide from one note to the next. And it gives you that type of sound. Because having that active will help you do a lot more things inside the MIDI. So let's go to pattern 9, which is empty, and let's right click, go to piano roll. Now, before I do this, I might have mentioned this before, but I like to hear my stuff in context. So what you want to do is hit the playlist button, and you just want to left click the empty pattern 9. If you don't find an empty pattern 9, simply go back to the channel rack and just add a note in there just to activate the pattern. Okay, then you want to go to your playlist button. You can either right click this image and go to pattern 9, or you can just left click when you have pattern 9 activated. So now that we've pattern 9, I'm just going to stretch it out for, let's hit Control Z. I need to change my snap to grid back to a bar mode. And now I can left click and drag this out for 4 bars. So we're going to right click and rename this melody. Like I said, the musical melody can be a little more dramatic. It doesn't have to be singable. And we go over this again in Melody Magic at BusyWorksBeats.com. We'll leave a link below. But it doesn't have to be a singable melody. It just has to be something that moves us along the chord progression. So I'm going to show you how to use a scale basically to make sure you're using the right notes for beginners. Now you can go outside of the scale, but we're going to show you a way where it's easier for you. So you simply right click, go back to your channel rack, and you're going to be on pattern 9, right click, go to piano roll. So now when we hit song mode, remember to take your play mode off of the pattern mode, which is the orange mode, turn it back to song mode, which is the gray mode, and hit play. So now we can program our melody in context of the song. So I have some notes that I hear in my mind. So that's the first thing you want to do. Don't worry about sound design, just worry about the notation first, then go back to edit your sound. So I want my sound to go A. And I want these notes to overlap so that they can have that slide effect. I wanted to go bump, 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 but dun, 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 dun. I know I can't sing, so you can laugh as much as you want. Okay, so now we have the notes out. Now we're going to fix the lengths. And I tell people all the time, make sure you're getting the melody that you hear in your head across. Don't try to scientifically create a melody all the time. There are ways and parameters and things you need to understand, which we go over again in Melody Magic at BusyWorksBeats.com. But the most important part is that you translate what's in your head into the actual melody. So now what we're going to do to make sure that we're in the same scale, we're going to click the stamp mode. It gives us all the chord and scale options. And let's see if they have, well, they have different types of minors. So this is the weird part about this stamp mode. So, okay, so not to confuse anyone, because it's not an option here, so that will confuse a lot of people. We're going to create the natural minor scale. Okay, so now we're going to create the A natural minor scale. And all this really means is we're just going to put a note as a reference here. So we're going to start at A, and we're going to drag that note out to be very long. Now we're just going to use this note as a reference. It's going to be our guiding system to then help us create melody. So what you can do is actually lower the volume so that it's at 0, so that it doesn't make a sound if you accidentally hit the note. And we're going to go up every white note on the left side of the keyboard. We're going to make sure we fill in every white note. And if you don't feel like looking at the left side and lining it up for every white note, all you have to do is make sure there's no symbols after the letters. So right here you see C sharp. So that means it's not a white note. So we're going to pull that down to C. We're just going to keep going up. See here, there's F sharp. We need to pull it down to be F. Okay, so you don't even have to look at the left side. Just make sure there's no symbols after the letter there. All right. Whoops. Okay, so all you need to fill up is about 1 octave, or, you know, A to A basically. And this is going to give you a guide. Okay, now what we can do is actually delete the top A. We can hit Control, left click and drag. And we can hit Shift to clone and just left click and drag this up an octave. So again, it starts at A, it goes up to A. So it gives us 2 octaves of the same scale, basically, the A natural minor scale. And again, the A natural minor scale is all the white notes. So what does this mean for melody? This gives us a guidance tool to start our melody. Now, what the rules that you want to keep is to make sure all your notes are inside of these notes. Now, what that means is if I drag this scale over top of my notes, you can see all the notes are inside the scale. That means they're in the A natural minor scale. Okay, so that you want to stick with this scale to create your melody. And there are many options for notes, and your ear is going to drag you along certain options as you go up and down the scale. And practicing with the scale will help you understand how melody works in a better way when you're a beginner. And of course, there's more ways to understand melody, but this is a quick way to really hop into melody. So you can see all the notes here are actually in this scale. So we're going to drag that over, and we're going to create another 2-bar section here. So we're going to left click, we're going to hit Control, left click and drag, and then hit Shift and then left click and copy this over. Okay, and now it's going to create a duplicate of what we had over here. So let's get the timing right for this part. So I probably should have did the timing first. Basically, I'm just making stuff line up so that it's, again, you want to get the melody that's in your head. You don't want to make the computer tell you what the melody should be. Okay, so that's the melody to a degree. Now what we can do is actually make what we call variations of the melody. So let's go to the playlist mode, hit the playlist button, and we're going to hit Shift, left click on pattern 9 and drag it over so that it's a new pattern 9. And then we're going to highlight both by hitting Control, left click and drag. And then we're going to hit Shift, left click and drag again. So it's going to duplicate those again. Now what we can do is see the whole melody as one big piece, and we can figure out where our ear wants to hear little changes. Okay, now wherever our ear wants to hear little changes, we can always click this little piano button and go to Make Unique. What that's going to do is clone the pattern 9 into pattern 10. It's going to make a direct duplicate, which we can edit and change notes so that it doesn't mess up pattern 9 and we have a new variation in pattern 10. So let's go to the playlist mode. Make sure you're in song mode, which is the green timeline button, and hit play or space. And before we get into the melody, also, I mentioned going back and editing the sound. That's a big part of coming up with the right melody, because melody, sound selection is a big part of melody. Okay, guitars are used in rock music. You know, you have synths used in R&B and electronic music. So there's different genres which have different instruments that you want to hear as the melody. So keep in mind that's a big part of the melody. Okay, so my ear wants to hear change right at this section right here. So what I said we were going to do, click on the piano keys button and go to make unique. This is going to duplicate pattern 9 and some pattern 10. So let's click the button again and go to edit pattern. It pulls up the piano roll, which we had before. So my ear wants to, again, you want to hear this stuff in context. So it's in song mode. That means it's going to play the whole song, not just this pattern. So let me go back to the playlist and I'm going to highlight by hitting Control, left clicking and drag the next 4 bars. And now I'm going to go back to the channel rack view, hit the MIDI screen, and now it's going to pull up the MIDI. So now I can track along the timeline where my ear wants to change the notes, and it's right here. I already know it's right here. Now my ear wants this note to go down to F. So the melody, we go over this in a different video. The melody relies heavily on the chord progression. Now the chords aren't playing a chord that supports this note right here. So in my mind, the melody wants to play F, but the chords are not supporting the melody at this point. So that's a more advanced reasoning. So in that case, I'm going to avoid that. But for future reference, you would need to know how to change your chord progression. Okay, and we go over that in Music Theory in a Day. We go over all the concepts of changing chords and everything musically you need to know as a producer. So we're going to skip the F for now, since this video is not for intermediate or advanced. So let's change that note. Instead of F, let's use maybe D. So the timing wants to change as well, not just the notation, but the timing of the notes. So I'm going to use 4 long notes. And notice we're still in the scale, all white keys, no sharps and no flats. So that's the difference, okay? This little 4-note change and the pattern change as well. It's not in the same structure as this part of the melody. It's completely different. And those are the things you want to add throughout your melody to make it wrap up. It needs to have that wrap up sound, like, okay, we're starting over again. The more variations you use in your melody, the better your song will come out, generally. Okay, so let's change this one to pattern 10 by clicking there, go to select source pattern and select pattern 10. Now we're going to hit Control, left click and unhighlight. So now we have 2 wrap up sections here and here. So our melody is going to reset itself at those points. Okay, so now we're going to go back in time and go to the sound design. Okay, so we're going to click on the channel rack. We're going to open up GMS number 2, which is our melody instrument. And we're going to get out of the wrench. We're going to go to the plugin editor mode. So this pulls up the instance of the plugin screen. Here's where we're going to manipulate the sound. Again, you're going to get the project file, so don't worry about trying to exactly mimic the sound. But in essence, all you want to do is increase the amount of voices here to, let's say, 4 or 8. We're going to try 8. And it gives us that 80s type of sound. Then we're going to left click and drag the stereo so it's a little bit wider, maybe to 50% or so. And we're going to also increase the detune to about 40%. Okay, so in the next section, we're going to go over adding the bass line, and then we're going to show you how to mix all these sounds together, how to make things sound more interesting, how to make everything sound together, and how to make it sound louder and more presentable for the radio. So thanks for watching. Be sure to get your free download by clicking the link below. Again, this is going to be the part 3 or part 4. I forget which part we're on now, but you're going to have those downloads as we go along in Fleek FL Studio Week. So thanks for watching today. Please like the video and share with your friends if you think this can help them. And again, you want to click that link below to download your free project file so you can follow along. Thanks for watching today. It's busyworksbeats.com.